Hello there, welcome to the second part of COVID-19 and freedom. If you haven't seen the first part, I do recommend you watching it because I'm going to go straight in from where I left off. But before I do start properly, to recap, I'm using the EDM, the Energy Dynamic Model Power Tower, to illustrate the human condition, and this stick represents who you are, and it could also be called your soul. And if we use our stick self in order to make decisions in our day-to-day life, we create good feels around us, and these good feels protect our who we are, and they also allow the information in who we are to transmute into this planet dimension, so we can then create things. So for example, if my potential, if part of my who I am is that I'm very good at fixing bicycles, that information, I'm carrying that information. But unless I make good decisions and I can feel safe and I can express that through being in a good position and building up good feelings, that potential information I have about fixing bikes can then come through the stick self out into this world via the feels, and that potential information is actually turned into via the energy that you create from feeling good into this world, and I could actually set up a fixing bike project. Again, I know that's a lot of information, but basically that's what I was kind of saying, and that's the fundamental model really of the energy dynamic model. Now, this is how we are supposed to be, feeling good about who we are and using this way, this vibration, living in this vibration, this feel where love and care exists, creativity exists, and it's actually an absolute as well, which we'll talk about later. When we're living in this zone, it's absolute. It's a yes or a no. It's this feels good, this feels sad. That's it. It's absolute. Truth is truth. Fact is fact. And from this very strong foundation, we then create whatever we create using our stick self as a guide. And remember, I said that our stick self is actually what the brain uses to measure what we feel. So if we haven't got our stick self, if that has been disappeared because we're disconnected from it, then what happens is that the power tower, this is gone, this disappears, and these fields that we could have generated have nothing to keep them together, so they fall to pieces, crashing to the ground, and there's nothing in this zone. We're not here, and so therefore, because our who you are isn't here, we can't create this strong feels, so create anything given who we are. It's gone. And that's where I ended with the last video. Now, as again I mentioned before in the last video, was that as human beings there are three ways we can take energy, and we need to take energy so we can get through time. Okay, because we need energy to get through time, because we're in this construct where there is time and space and matter actually. So we need energy to get through time and space and matter. And there's three ways of finding this energy. One is spiritual energy, which again is great to top up and is great when we can bring it down, but actually to manifest and to sustain us in this dense low vibration, it can't actually do that because of its very nature, it's too high a vibration. So although we can actually connect to it, which is another video, and we study that in the energy dynamic model. The only two other ways that we can get energy and information from to get us through time, space and matter is from our fields, who we are, our field zone, which has gone because our stick self has become masked, disconnected, and therefore we can't generate any strong fields. So the only other place to get energy from is the mind. So what happens is that we have to go into our mind. And this is one of the things that's been created by this situation of the COVID-19, is that it has become increasingly difficult to stay in feel. So we are being forced, basically, to get energy from the mind. Forced. Now then, this is where it gets a bit clever. So, we need these to live though. We need, what's this one? Expression. We need to have our learning style understood. We need belonging and purpose. And again, see, these are thick, solid pieces of wood that protect our stick self. And it's an absolute, and the reference point is from yourself. So if I know something, if I'd had an experience, I know that, I have that experience and I can express it, and that is that. It's a solid, it's absolute, and that's what we do. And then we feel good because we express it, because we're showing our knowledge and it's being valued, and we can do it. We're allowed to do that, and it takes us through time, and it gives us a good feeling about that. Now, this knowledge is known. It's known that we need these to be human. But once we go in the mind, something very interesting happens. In the mind, these ideas still exist, but they're of a completely different nature. Again, I talk a lot about this in the courses in the energy dynamic model, so I'm going to really briefly talk about this. But I'm going to go through all of these different types of needs, really. These are called power needs. So, for example, safety. Safety in the field zone is like this. It's like this solid bit of wood that's really directly based on your reality, given who you are in that moment. But once it goes into the mind, it's like this little piece of paper. It's flappy. It's weak. It's a word written on a piece of paper. And most importantly, it's not actually based on who you are in this present moment. Especially now. The three animal power needs, health, safety and love and care, are the ones that have been most pounded upon, really. The ones that have been most distorted and inverted. Because usually before the COVID-19, these three solid animal power needs, no matter how disconnected you were from who you are, these were still probably, you were probably still connected to that. You probably were. You'd probably know if you felt bad, you didn't feel safe. You'd know that, given your reality. But as I said, these have gone out the window. And we've been told what to do to be safe. We've been told. And the reference point isn't you're who you are in your reality. The reference point is what you're being told to do, probably by the government, by the neighbours, by the television. So it becomes relative. It becomes a relative experience. So our safety has been turned from this good solid feeling that you know you have. So if I'm sitting at home and I know I'm safe, there you are, that's my good feel, I know I'm safe. But that's all gone out the window, and instead we're told whether we're safe or not, and we're told what to do, so we keep safe. So we've lost the ability to feel safe given who we are from our own present moment, and we've been persuaded to go up into the mind and to look for this safety, because we can't feel it anymore, because we've become so disconnected from it because of all this stuff that's been going on outside, and told that we need to be safe by following someone else's orders relative to itself, not relative to you. So safety has become a mind instruction, not a solid feel that you have. Health, same again. We've been told what to do to be healthy. Not from an absolute given who you are. I know that green beans are good for me. I know this. I know that these vitamins are good for me. I know what I need to do to be healthy. No, that's gone out the window. To have good health, you need to follow some orders that's been dictated to you from outside. That is not to do with your present situation, your who you are, and your reality. So health has become a piece of paper. So this good, strong, solid health, I know I am in good health, disappears because suddenly we're uncertain. Are we in good health? I don't know. What happens if I'm unlucky or whatever and I catch a virus? What happens to my health? We've been told, aren't we, what happens? It's scary stuff. So these two things that used to be really solid and grounding have become pieces of paper in the mind. Love and care. What's happened to that? You can't show love and care anymore. You can only do it virtually, or you can only do it from 2 meters away. That solid love and care, hugging, doing, being around people, feeling part of something, it's gone out the window. We're no longer able to do that. So we can't do our love and care. This is why we have become, this is why this is so devastating. This is why this is so devastating, especially the lockdown. Because these solid animal power needs that we know we have disappeared and turned into mind illusion pieces of paper. So we're feeling very unsafe, not sure about our health, and can't show love and care. So what we have to do, we have to go up into the mind to try and fix this situation. And the only thing that we can find, if we're unaware, is by following orders, because we don't know, because our absolute reference point has gone, which is our stick self. So because that's gone and our solid feels have gone, we have to look outside to find this, because we need these, because we're human. Right? So that's that's absolutely annihilating us as human beings. It's inverting us. It's taken what's supposed to be a real solid feel that we know into a mind debatable, relative, you only have these if you follow orders type of thing. And if you don't follow orders, you haven't got them. That's what it's turned into, whereas before it wasn't like that. However, let's go up the power needs again. We now have as well all this. Now before COVID-19, this was a bit ropey, but it's become even more ropey now. These ones. So purpose and meaning are found given your talent. Given your talent, your T's. If you know your talent and you're doing it, you'll have purpose and meaning. But if you can't show your talent, or if you don't know your talent, and again, most of us locked down, stuck indoors, can we do our thing? Probably not. We can't have purpose and meaning. So again, purpose and meaning have gone, on the floor. They've fallen on the floor. Purpose and meaning. They've got into the mind as well and have become flappy pieces of paper. So we can't find our purpose and meaning anymore by doing what we normally do, showing our talent. Instead, we need to find purpose and meaning from our mind, which means we have to do things, look at things for outside. Now, as I said, this does happen a lot anyway. It was happening before. So what's happened is, instead of actually finding your own personal purpose and meaning by doing your talent, what's happened is people now look for purpose and meaning through their job most of the time. So their job role normally is giving them purpose and meaning. Okay, so that's why when you lose your job, you have a real sense of no purpose and meaning. So that was there before, but again, even more so now, because what's our purpose and meaning if we can't do our jobs? Okay, now what's kind of happened is it's sort of been slightly manipulated again, double bluff, and saying, well, purpose and meaning is staying at home looking after your family. Okay, but how can you look after your family if your 3 fundamental animal power needs have become flimsy? It's very hard to have these, even if it's reference to your family, if you haven't got that, if you haven't got these. Okay, so it's a kind of a bit of a mind game, basically, because normally purpose and meaning are found through purpose and meaning are found by you following your talent, whereas it's been replaced by your job. Even more worrying is also what's happened is your identity and belonging has disappeared, because normally identity and belonging is found by what you prefer, and this preference is beneath any separation ideas of groups of people. So it's things like, I prefer a curry, I prefer this sort of music, I prefer being indoors, I prefer being outdoors. It's got nothing to do with anything except what you personally feel comfortable in. It's got nothing to do with gender, it's got nothing to do with race, it's got nothing to do with religion. These are all false constructs designed to be here by society. Okay, but because we can't actually connect to our preference, because we're all stuck indoors, and because we can't create our good solid feels of belonging and identity by following our stick self, because we're not allowed to, we search for these in society. And of course this has had huge social consequences and hugely created things like separation. It's made people go into little tiny groups that they identify with, because they identify with things that society has created as a false construct, like your gender, like your race, like your sexual preference, like your religion. So instead of now knowing who you are and just being who you are and connecting to people irrespective of anything given who you are, what we're forced to do now is to search for identity, not from your absolute feel of being a human being, but in reference to society's false construct illusion of separating people into boxes that have actually no reason for being, but it's encouraging people to identify with others, not because of their stick self, but because of the box that they are told that they fit into. And you've probably noticed that these boxes have got smaller and smaller and smaller and smaller. So people have put themselves, these little bits of paper, into a tiny, tiny box. So therefore, because they're in one tiny, tiny box, they can't then connect to any of the other boxes at all, because they've put this into one box. So even if someone that they love and care, or that they feel safe with and always have done, if that person is not in this tiny little box, they'll think, I can't connect to you because you're not giving me, I don't feel I belong with you, and I don't have your identity because you're not the same box as me, even though you know deep down that you love and care for this person, you feel safe around them. That gets thrown away, and instead you put yourself in a box, and you've got to stay in that box, because that's where you're finding these from, because you can no longer find them from being who you are, in your reality. So, and this is used politically a lot. It's a huge cause of separation, and the more we're separated from each other in our mind, the weaker we are. Because if we can't connect to each other in reality, in a loving kind, in a kind and humble way, using our animal power needs, that's the glue that keeps society strong. If we haven't got that, but instead we're in a mind and we're putting everyone in a little box and saying that you belong to that box, you belong to that box. And people love their boxes because, as I said, they've lost their stick self. They've gone. They're not in there anymore, because we can't express that anymore. We can't experience that anymore. So they love their box. It's not their fault, because they don't. Their stick self is gone. So they love their box. But what my point is that as soon as you fall into that trap, you're separated from everyone else. And you can't feel love for anyone else except for your tiny, tiny box. And even then, in your tiny, tiny box, because you're in a mind illusion, it doesn't have love in it anyway, because the mind doesn't have feelings in it of love and care. It only has emotion. And you'll see that, and the only emotions that are up there is anger. You know, it's anger, it's let's do this, you know, let's win, let's show them, it's angry. That's not how you connect as a human being with others in your community. Okay? It's putting you in the mind illusion where feelings don't exist, in a box that means you're separated from everyone else, and it makes us as a society incredibly weak. So one solution to this is to forget about that. Go back to this. Go back to your reality. Who's near you? Who are your neighbours? Who can you love and care for? When you've done that, this is your basics, your animal power needs. Then you can look at what can you do, and then you can think of, well, this is what I can do. How would I like to manifest this? What would suit me to manifest it? Would it suit me to work for a big employer? Would it suit me to have my own business? That's what we mean by preference. It's kind of like your personality. Where do you fit in? What environment do you feel comfortable in? Okay. But anyway, I could talk for hours about it. But the point is that we've lost these, and they've been turned into mind illusion pieces of paper. Next two on the stick: self, learning style, and knowledge. Knowledge is your experience, what you know. You know these things because you've gone through them. They've gone as well. We're not allowed to say what we know anymore. We're not allowed to say what we know anymore. We're not allowed to say what we experienced before, because everyone's allowed to have an opinion, and also we're censored. So we can't say our knowledge and learning style. That's how you learn, how you communicate. Well, that's all gone out the window, because we can only do everything virtually nowadays unless you wear a mask, and then you can't communicate properly. So again, we've lost those. We've lost these. We can't do these anymore. We can only do it virtually in certain situations. So again, these have been turned into tiny pieces of paper. I can only express myself if I'm not offensive, and if my knowledge is different, if my experience of life is different from what the construct wants me to say, then it's called an opinion. And not only that is an opinion, but also if my opinion offends you, I'm not allowed to say it, so I can't express myself. And also, as I said, it's very limited at the moment. We can't do any drama, any plays, any music, nothing. It's all virtual, it's all online, unless we meet each other face to face with a mask on. So these two have become pieces of paper as well. So what's happened is this COVID-19 is taking away our freedom and inverting how we operate, because instead of allowing us to develop these solid, real, proper power needs that we can express ourselves and be strong, creative beings that with love and care, they've gone. There is nothing inside them, because we can't follow our stick self. And instead, so that we can still function, because we need to have these things to function, we've been forced to go into the mind, and all these things can be found, thank you very much, by society in this artificial construct on society's terms, which has taken us right away from our stick self and our power needs, and we're totally dependent on society, on the construct, to look after us, because we can't, because we've forgotten. we've forgotten, and we're not strong because we have actually disappeared. That stick self has gone. Okay, so disappeared. The only thing that's bigger, ability. I talk endlessly about this on the courses, but basically ability is, can you do something? This is where the mind lives, and this is part of you. It is a power need, but it's the smallest one. Okay, if you've got all the other power needs, your mind will probably be okay and let you do it. If you haven't got power needs, then your mind will be very negative and you won't be able to do it. Anyway, but you can't do that anymore. So instead you have to go into the mind illusion. You have to go into society. What can I do? What can I do? What can I do? And guess what? Society says, well, we'll let you do things. We'll let you do things so long as you follow our orders. So they really, really, really make this huge, and they let you do things so long as they allow it to you, and so long as you follow the rules. So it's in reference to them. Again, it's not in reference to you. Can I do it? Oh no, doesn't matter if I can do it or not. What matters is society going to let me do it. And if they do let me do it, then they'll reward me. They'll reward me by paying me money or by letting me out. And this is what could happen with the vaccinations. So if we do what we're told and we get a vaccination, hey, we can do loads of things. But if we don't, sorry, can't do nothing. Gone. And because of my stick self, I can't do it anyway, because I'm not allowed to be connected to myself. So again, a bit of a quick one, to be honest. It's a lot of information there, but basically what I'm trying to illustrate is how this COVID-19 thing, in reference to our freedom, one way they're achieving taking away our freedom is by inverting us, by not allowing us to create our own good feels, and instead turning these solid, absolute good feels that we have in reference to ourselves into instead relative and subjective concepts which are flimsy and only work if you do what you're told. And you're looking all the time for the answer. What's health? Goodness, better turn on the television. What will keep me safe? Goodness, better ask a politician. Instead of knowing before, actually, I know how to be safe, I know how to be healthy, and doing it yourself and allowing yourself to heal, giving yourself the power to heal yourself. Instead of being in this mind construct where you're looking outside always for people to rescue you and to help you. And this is being encouraged, really encouraged. So this is part 2 of how, as humans, we're losing our freedom. And the way we're losing our freedom is by allowing the system to take away our who you are's and to go along with the idea that we can find all our needs, not from ourselves, but from the system, which makes us incredibly vulnerable. And there will be a part 3, because I want to start talking about virtual reality next, because that's the next step. And so I'll talk more about that. So just the place we've got to now is so all our solid power, absolute power needs, reference to our who you are's, have been turned into pieces of paper that are all relative, that only work if we do what the construct tells us. Okay, thank you.